This episode of Adapt and Respond is sponsored by the Flim Flam Handyman. Is your refrigerator running so that you have to chase it? Do you smell the pungent tumescent odors of what could be a gas leak? Do you need those gutters cleaned, TV mounted, back fence painted, dog run installed, or chimney swept? Then you need the Flim Flam Handyman, who will empty your pockets as fast as he can. That's right. Call the Flim Flam Handyman, who will fix what ain't broken, use a hammer where a socket wrench will do, and stick you with a bill so high that your eyes water, your fists clench, and you will absolutely want to fight. The Flim Flam Handyman, who has never seen a problem he can't turn into a legitimate disaster. Call the Flim Flam Handyman at 555 I will con you, sucker. This episode of Adapt and Respond is sponsored by Benjamin Banneker College, the only HBCU with a BBW. Big Bad Bachelors in What It Do, pretty mama. At the BBC, you can erect your education with such foundational skills as mackin', what's crack-a-lackin', is that your man or your baby's daddy, and accounting. At the BBC, students gain the knowledge and experience to get money, rock, ice, write prose, new money, new whips, new clothes, keep money everywhere we go. So if you're about trying to get this paper and get your degree, walk on down to the BBC and bring cash. Now, let's get on with the show. What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. So if you're into that, consider joining the more than 175,000 subscribers to Adapt and Respond, college football podcast. We're also available on the Spotify, on the Apples, but as is always going to be true, this is a video first podcast. You will always be able to find exclusive segments here and the long show. The long show, something that we've begun doing here in the last 4 to 6 weeks. It's been outstanding for the show. We have grown by almost 30,000 subscribers just in the past month. Texas Tech has really grown the channel in that way, because we're in this place where it is unprecedented what they are doing. And we're at a spot where many of us, and myself included, believe that we're actually at a tipping point for college football and what it means. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what gambling kind of has sort of done to sports since it became legal 2018, according to the U.S. Supreme Court. I also want to talk about just what you think this is meaning and how many people believe the same thing about what Texas Tech is doing and allowing Brendan Sorsby to play. And I want to ask this question out loud. And please go over to the community tab on the channel and answer the question whether or not you believe Texas Tech's decision to let Brendan Sorsby play is going to ruin college football, because, well, that's the premise here. But more than that, is Texas Tech willing to play the villain? Are they willing to play the villain? Are they good enough to play the villain? So before we answer that question and really dig into it, I think a little bit of background is needed here. Right? By now, you know that college football, like many other sports, is received a ton of money from gambling sports books. Right? A lot of shows, including this one, are sponsored by, powered by gambling sports books and the like, right? And in many respects, they are underwriting the sports programming that you love to see and want to see. And we're grateful for that, because we like making good stuff. I like making the show. I love making the show. And I also want to be very careful about saying, hey, look, what you choose to do with your time and your money is totally up to you as far as I'm concerned. As long as what you're doing ain't hurting other people, I don't really care, right? And to say I don't really care, it's not to say that I'm ambivalent. it is to say that I'm not going to be the person telling you good, bad, or indifferent, right? What you should be doing. It's just that I'm going to watch you do it. And sometimes that's going to lead to high comedy. Watching some of my friends sweat out some of their picks is some of the most entertaining comedy that I will see all year when it comes to college football and the like. Uh, you will not be shocked to find out how many people ask me my opinion about this or that. And that's one of the reasons why I've been pretty clear and cut about, hey, look, I talk about college football. I'll pick winners because I'm good at it. But that's as far as I'm willing to go, right? And it's also one of these things where when you have a job like mine, you are sometimes privy to things that the public is not, even if you're going to report those things later. And being an arbiter in that way is very important. But as I look at what has happened since U.S. Supreme Court made sports betting legal across the country and is still becoming legal in different states, is we'd always had match fixing and we'd always had problems with it. It's just, it was real cut and dry for the feds to come after you because it was illegal to gamble, right? Now we have other examples of people still match fixing and or betting on things that they shouldn't be as professionals. Here, just last March, we're talking about 39 players in 17 in a different NCAA division men's basketball teams who were all found to have rigged or attempted to rig 29 games, according to prosecutors. Apparently, there was a scheme where the folks that were asking these players to point shave had bet millions on them doing it and paid just hundreds of thousands or even a few thousand to the players that actually did this. So we're talking about folks that are backing this making millions, and we're talking about players bringing home between $10,000 and $30,000. Perhaps you'll remember former University of New Orleans player and NBA star at one point, Day Hunter, who went on Good Morning America, just said, yeah, I point shaved so I could feed my family, put money on the table. And there's a man at the center of all this, his name's Jalen Smith, who was basically acting as the go-between between the players and the money, the real money, who would go down to Louisiana and drop off, 30 grand, right, for what someone might do in a basketball game. And at the time, right, name, image, and likeness is not online in a way that everybody is making the money that they're making now, but it is on the rise, right? We're talking about 2021, right, is when we start looking at being able to pay players as third-party vendors. What I found interesting about that particular scheme is that prosecutors named more than 40 schools where games were allegedly targeted by the scheme, including Tulane and DePaul. So there's that side. Then there is what you know about the cardinal sin of a player betting on his own team. We don't allow it. It's never been allowed, and it should never be allowed. And frankly, the NCAA didn't allow it. How we got here with Brendan Sorsby, though, is very interesting because Brendan Sorsby is benefiting from the NCAA not really getting it right the first time, which is also true in the Trinidad Chambliss case. And I need to make sure I am clear on these things. Judges in these instances, one a local judge in Mississippi, one a local judge in Texas, are looking at what the NCAA had done in other previous low-profile cases and applying that same precedent to what the NCAA to their case in front of them. So when it comes to Trinidad Chambliss, it was the NCAA had done its own medical research and just decided to disregard it as it denoted him, but it is also disregarded for its own reasons. But it's still there, right? And a judge chose to go, no, this is what you did the last time, so he gets the medical red shirt, and he's going to play this season, turning 24 in August at Ole Miss. Looking at Oklahoma, the same thing is true. They found a straw man case with a women's basketball player that basically had the same sort of, hey, I only played a little while when I was very young. Can I still have that year back? And they said, yeah, in that case. And Cleveland County judge thought you should say yeah to Owen Heineke in this one. And with Brendan Sorsby, we found an Indiana women's volleyball assistant coach who had bet $327,000 across 5 months, 700 bets, 27 on football, men's basketball at Indiana, who received a suspension and a show cause, but not a permanent ban. Right? So, judge in the case for Brendan Sorsby is going not a permanent ban, but also looking at the NCAA rulebook and kind of tearing it up as he's going, setting it on fire. And as much as we want to have this discussion about what the NCAA is or isn't doing. I do want to reinforce something that I'm seeing a little bit too much of in the comments, because I believe that this group, the 175,000 plus people that subscribe to the show, is smarter than every other college football fan, because it's not a dumb college football show. That's not what we do. The NCAA isn't the big bad here. The NCAA has done a lot wrong. The NCAA is slow to move. It has antiquated bylaws, and it lacks enforcement. But the NCAA is enforcing the bylaws that its members want. This is why we have things like the Football Oversight Committee, which quite literally looks at the NCAA rule book and says, okay, that one's not working, and or we need to add a new one to keep up with the modernization of the game. And this is down from, we're going to have 2-minute timeouts, to we are going to redefine what targeting is, to we're going to say you can't cut off your pants at a certain knee length. All those things go up before in a Football Oversight Committee, which also could tell the NCAA what it's going to do. What I'm saying is, it's too easy for many to just pass the buck to an NCAA that is only doing what it's asked to do in many cases. What is alarming about the Brendan Sorsby situation is so many people, like the majority of people, believe that this is the case that will redefine and could absolutely torpedo what is a growing sport. I don't know that it's going to torpedo a growing sport. I'm not there yet. I am saying it will be a tipping point for college football and how we tend to deal with the big money that is coming in, and how we want laws applied, and how we want bylaws applied, and how we want the sport to be governed. Big caller for a commissioner, and I wrote a column over foxsports.com that you can read where I say the commissioner's local judge. It shouldn't be. We need somebody to be in charge, and somebody that has the authority to mete out punishment and the authority to say, no, I need to modernize the game with this, right? Tampering rules need to be modernized. For instance, Pete Golding, what he could do is basically go, no, I'll do the time for the crime, because it's not really that much, right? It's not really penance. Neither is Brendan Sorsby just missing the Oregon State and Abilene Christian games. Like, nobody believes that penance is the right amount. For him, it should be a permanent ban, which, we're probably not going to get to. And there's a trial date set for Brendan Sorsby in February, but, by that time, he's preparing for the NFL draft, and we'll know more about his college football career. I am really, really interested, though, to find out how far Texas Tech is willing to play this. Because when I talked about this on Sports Talk Radio in Utah just yesterday, I was asked, will Texas Tech cave to the pressure? And I'm going, probably not, right? Texas Tech is more than willing, it seems, to position itself as the villain. They'll wear the black hat by choosing to back this dude. And hearing all of us go, not only are all of us saying out loud, this is bad, don't do this. You have athletic directors, presidents, and coaches who have said very quickly, okay, so we won't play you anymore. Like Georgia and Nebraska just flat out coming out, no, we're just not going to play with you. We can't do that. We are not agreeing on the same values and integrity of the sport. So if we can't agree on the sportsmanship here, there's no reason for us to play. It has put Brett Yormark, the Big 12's commissioner, into a really, really hard spot, because he's got 15 members that are looking around going, do something about this. And he's going, I also have to take care of my 16th member. And it feels like it's going to be up to him if anything does get done, because Brett Yormark does have an authority among Big 12 members that we're asking for nationally. He's the commissioner. Right? Remember when Michigan got caught sign stealing? Tony Petitti handed out a punishment. He did. And Michigan accepted it. There's still something you can do here if you are the Big 12. And I think we're going to get that. But either way, Tech is going to be the villain here. Now, I think the steam will be let out a little bit if Brett Yormark and the Big 12 can come up with something that satisfies the majority of college football in as far as what it's going to curtail from Texas Tech. Now, the levers that he can pull, I'm not quite sure where that begins and where that ends. I am saying, though, if you don't want Texas Tech to compete in your Big 12 championship, I think you got the authority to say you're ineligible this year. or you'll try to find something that's close to it. Because the other thing is, if Texas Tech's going to be the villain here, and again, it looks like they're more than happy to do it, you can try to silo them off. You can try to say, okay, you're going to play ball this year. You're going to play ball with this player. We're going to try to mitigate the damage that this can do to the Big 12's reputation and, by association, college football's reputation. It's a really difficult line to walk because there's a lawyer at every corner ready to sue you for this or that. But the part about Texas Tech not fully going away, or I should say the part where Texas Tech remains the villain, is we are all very clear on one fact. If Texas Tech did not want Brendan Sorsby to play quarterback, all of this is over. That's it. That's all. If Texas Tech decided we're wrong, we're going to about face, we're going to say he can't play college football this season, I think many people will accept that. And I think you'll have different conversations about how to prevent something like this in the future, but it will stave off what I think many people believe is a sign of the apocalypse, if you will. So I'm there, right? I genuinely hope, like with my whole sincerity, that the powers that be at Texas Tech are listening to everybody and hearing the vitriol that is coming out and the anger and the sadness that is coming out, not just from us who probably don't have, many of us who don't have real stake in Texas Tech, or those that are just upset about what it could be. I think for me, it's more like, are you listening to your own alumni? Are you listening to, Gary C. from Dallas, who just detailed to The Athletic what it was that made him so upset and why this is getting underneath his skin? And I get it, man. Like I've told people this before, especially when they want to come at me with like, what about Owen Heineke at Oklahoma? I say this often. I don't think he should be allowed to play. He's going to play, and since he's going to play, I'm going to root for him to be okay and to be good. And that's got nothing to do with him as a person. It's got nothing to do with what I want for him to achieve. It is to say, hey, he spotted a loophole, didn't get a great grade from the NFL scouting combine, looked like a day 3 pick, wants to play college football again, exploit a loophole to do it. I'm not going to sit here and stand up and go, I am going to boycott college football because Owen Heineke, Trinidad Chambliss, Brendan Sorsby are playing. I'm not going to do that. I am going to say, if you're looking at the rules and you want them to mean anything, you have to enforce them for everybody. You have to enforce them for everybody. As for Texas Tech and its alumni, especially those that I think, are hurt by this, I'm gonna read what Gary C. wrote. As many people believe that this might be the end for college football. I said, I actually hold a degree from Texas Tech, and I am more than ashamed by its role in this tawdry situation. The president of Texas Tech should just send an email to every student stating that academic cheating will no longer be an offense, or even if it's considered an offense, there will be no penalty nor consequences other than better performance on academic work and consequentially better grades, 4.0 GPA for everyone. If we're all cheating, then it's all legal. I don't think that that's what anybody wants either, man. I don't think that's what anybody wants at all. And to reiterate and to underscore here, Brendan Sorsby, I don't think is a bad dude. He's a dude with a gambling addiction who made some really, really egregiously awful decisions. And there need to be consequences for those things. Betting on your team, betting on professional sports when we have bylaws that state you can't do that, and then getting caught. And it doesn't feel like there's any there's contrition here. It simply feels like, damn, I got caught, but I'd really like to play football. And at this juncture, it's really difficult to make any sort of case that this dude needs to be playing college football. If he does, he does. And we'll talk about it and we'll play. And this will be the story that it remains to be. But my goodness, I wish it didn't come to this. I really do.